At the end, my dear students, the minister, Dimmesdale, tells triumph before the horrified, very great horrified crowd. Then he starts sinking down. As we have come to know that he was deteriorating, uh, he was losing his health, and he was getting weaker and weaker because he was suffering from certain diseases. Then he sinks down upon the scaffold. So Hester lifts Dimmesdale's head and cradles it against her bosom. Chillingworth, meanwhile, kneels down and, in a tone of defeat, repeats over and over again, "Thou hast escaped me." That means he could not take revenge on him. So, in the meanwhile, in the previous chapter, there was a certain happening that these three, Hester, Dimmesdale, and Pearl, they were just planning to leave that particular place. They had booked each and everything. They were about to sell. But as they came to know that Chillingworth was just following them, so the idea all of a sudden could not be performed. So, and finally this last scene, we are going to lose, almost we have lost Arthur Dimmesdale. But the soothing effect is that he just lost his life in the life of Hester. So Hester lifts Dimmesdale's head and cradles it against her bosom. Now, the minister asks God's forgiveness for Chillingworth's sin, and then he turns to Pearl and asks for a kiss. Pearl kisses him and weeps. And finally, Dimmesdale, obviously dying now, tells Hester farewell. She asks whether they will spend eternity together. In answer, he recalls their sin and says he fears that eternal happiness is not a state for which they can hope. Okay? His final words, you just remember. The minister leaves the matter to God, whose mercy he has seen in the affliction leading to the public confession. His dying words are, "Praised be his name. He will be done. His will be done. And farewell." Okay? Now, Hawthorne brings all the principal characters together at the third scaffold scene in this chapter, which begins with the triumph of Dimmesdale's sermon and ends with his death. Now, the Dimmesdale sermon is a personal triumph. He has defeated all those the mental and spiritual suppression, my dear students. In fact, Hawthorne ironically compares him to an angel who had shaken his bright wings over the people. And one thing more I would like to add here, that given in that dying situation, as Dimmesdale was about to leave his life, he asked Hester whether confession is better than fleeing. She has lived for 7 long years with the torment of her neighbors and the shame of her scarlet letter. Hester hurriedly answered him that perhaps the three of them dying together would be, it will be quite preferable. They wanted to die. They wanted to live together. And since Dimmesdale was about to die, so Hester says that it would have been very, very great. It would have been very, very pleasing for her that three of them die together. She hurriedly answers this particular thing. But if Dimmesdale dies alone, what will she have? In between, Pearl is given the most wonderful gift, a life that is filled with love and happiness. When her father finally publicly acknowledges her, she kisses him and weeps an actual tear. As Hawthorne says, the spell is broken. There is a hope that Pearl will grow up, be able to interact with other human beings because the truth is clear, and find love and live a long and happy life. Now, at the end, Chillingworth loses his victory in 2 ways. First, he doesn't have Dimmesdale to torment, and second, he receives Dimmesdale's blessing. So, with the passage of time, After 1 or 2 years, Chillingworth also loses his life. And finally, we come to know that uh, Chillingworth's death and the coming back of Hester Prynne in the same place where she had started. Now, the situation has positively changed. And what is that positive change? The characters follow this a typical kind of design which was made by fate, Chillingworth, consumed by his revenge, finally loses his life. Pearl, great wealth in his will, and she and her mother disappear, presumably to Europe. After their departure, the legend of the Scarlet Letter grows. Finally, one day, Hester returns alone, again that place, and inhabits once again the little cottage where she had started. That was the place where she had got tormented, she had tolerated each and everything, the pangs and thorns of life. She wears a grey and reapplies the scarlet A to her bosom. In between, she is receiving the letters coming from the pearls. She has been known to have got married with an aristocrat, and she is sending letters to her mother. And now, Hester returns alone and inhabits that particular little cottage. No one knows Pearl's fate, but finally it is disclosed. But people assume that she married well and had a family because letters with the seals of heraldry arrive for the Hester, and articles of the comfort and luxury are found in her cottage. So Hester is also seen embroidering baby garments. For whom? Instead of Puritan colors, she uses most un-Puritan-like, lavish and rich materials. So finally, Hester becomes a symbol of comfort and compassion, and upon her death, she is buried in the cemetery near the prison door where she first was defamed. While alive, she gives hope and comfort to those who feel sorrow and pain. And accordingly, the Scarlet Letter becomes a symbol of health. She becomes a prophet, a better time where human happiness will be quite easier to obtain. And now, when she dies, she is buried next to Dimmesdale. What could be more happier than that? Their graves are slightly apart, but with a single gravestone bearing this inscription: on a field sable, the letter A kills. Okay? So, in this particular chapter, Hawthorne presents several possible versions of spectators at the scaffold that day, including that some saw no letter on Dimmesdale's chest. So Hawthorne explains that the moral of the story, gleaned from an old manuscript of testimony of the people who had known Hester. Okay? Further, we come to know that at the end there was a little bit soothing, each and everything soothing for Hester's fate at the end of this book. One might ask, why she returns to Boston, leaving her daughter? So Hawthorne leaves the reader once again to decide. Okay? Perhaps she feels drawn to the place. Why does she resume wearing the scarlet A? So these questions are left to the reader. So my dear students, I hope you must have found this particular discussion on the Scarlet Letter, that chapter-wise analysis must have unfolded the clarity in your mind, or you must have come across a little bit clearer understanding, just to understand and interpret so many happenings which were incorporated in this particular novel together by a great writer, Nathaniel Hawthorne. Okay? So I hope you must have found the discussion fruitful, and you would be able to face all the questions which are to be asked in the examination. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.